Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Monday night. That means it's time for another edition of SOMSpotlight presented by Sun Parlor Trailers. My name is Craig Smolders, joined as always by Rob Young. Good evening, Rob. How are you today?
Great, Craig, and you?
I am excellent. Thank you very much. We had an excellent night of racing. We had the Studmaster Memorial Night at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway. It was a great night. Congratulations to all the feature winners. It was nice to see Stewie's family out there. I don't know exactly how many, but there was a whole bunch of them, probably 30 of Stewie's family. Some of them had never been to the track before, so they wanted to come out and see what Stewie loved to do, and they came out, and you know, congratulations to all the drivers. They put on a great show. The parade lap was amazing. There was all kinds of phones and pictures and cameras and everything going on, so that was all good to see. Rob, you weren't there. You unfortunately you had something else going on, so you didn't see that, but we had a great night of racing, and I'm really excited about the night that we had, and hopefully we can get the video up here at some point and let the fans have a look at it. Did you have a good weekend, Rob?
Yes, I did. Yes, and you're right. I was at a wedding. So I mean, I was thinking about you guys and hoping everything was going good, and looks like it did. So, yeah, I really miss Stewie. He was a big part of the track. You know, there was told Stewie that in a respectful way, hey, Stewie, I don't want to see you tonight, because Stewie, that meant I was on the hook, and he was dragging me into the pit. So I talked to him before or after, but didn't want to see him because he was pulling me in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, tonight we're going to be talking to a late model and Thunderstock driver. We're talking to Jake Hooker. He's the driver of the 1A late model and the 1A Thunderstock. So let's get Jake here and let's have him share some stories. Come on in, Jake. Hello, Jake. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Awesome. Awesome. What's going on? How's everything?
Everything's good. Not too much is going on tonight. Just getting ready to do this deal.
Awesome. Well, we got some pretty tough questions here for you. You think you're up for them, or you think you can handle them okay?
I'm gonna try to.
All right. Rob, do you have anything you want to open up with before we get going here?
You introduced him as the 1A late model and the I think it's the 1A certified for Paul DeGuy, and he did quite well with it. And he's got a big coming up on Friday night. But I don't want to get ahead of it here, but that's pretty exciting. It's going to be racing against Kenny Schrader. What do you think about that?
I'm excited towards it. Joel Dick beat him the last time that they went to Oswego, so hopefully we can put the number 10 DeGui's Flowers in front of both of them.
Yep, for sure. Well, before we get going here, Jake, I want to congratulate you. You had a really good run going in the feature. You led a bunch of laps and then ran into some issues, but you had a pretty good night. You want to talk about your night that you had at the Stu Massenger Memorial?
Yeah. Opening night, we tried a harder compound on the right side of the car, and it tended to work. But for the Stewie deal, we tried a softer tire, and fortunately, the driver just overused his equipment and burned up the right side. So it affected the drive of the race car and the balance of it, and that was all driver error.
Well, like I said, you did a good job. You led a bunch of laps in the late model race, and you did a good job. And you kind of got mixed up in somebody else's mess, I guess, is the best way to put it, in the Thunderstock race. But overall, a good night, and we know a lot of good things are coming for you, and we know you're going to be winning a feature probably in both classes sometime during the 2022 season. So we're gonna get going here. I guess the first thing I'd like to know is racing always been in your blood? I mean, you're from a racing family, but has it always been racing for you, or did you do some other sports, hockey, baseball, soccer, or something else along the way?
No, it was all racing all the time.
All right, Rob, do you have any questions about any of
that? Obviously, I've been through go-karts and cars of many variety, asphalt and dirt, and Jake, you have a tremendous amount of talent for a young man. Watched you your opening night, and I can't, and it's not only me, everybody, they really were impressed with how you bide your time. You knew you had a quicker car, and you just waited for the right. That takes a lot of experience and takes a lot of patience to do stuff like that. But really impressed. Not that you haven't impressed a lot of people. There was a lot of people who were pretty impressed by your performance opening night and winning that feature.
Thanks, Rob. That means a lot.
All right, so going into your racing career here, I guess probably your racing career started before your racing actually started. I'd imagine you were probably sitting in the shop, probably in your diapers, in a bunch of race cars, whether your dad's or somebody that your dad was working on. Talk about that a little bit, growing up in a racing family, and all these cars and people are coming and going all the time, and you're sitting in cars and stuff like that. Talk about that a little bit, Jake.
I got a pretty fortunate childhood, truthfully. I got to go to a lot of racetracks that kids never got to, and I got to see a different side of the racing world. So had a great mentor right now growing up. Yeah, I don't know. There's not there's not a whole lot that I can't say that I got to do growing up.
Awesome. And at some point, I guess you're going to say to your dad or whatever that I've had enough of just sitting in cars in the shop or at the racetrack. I want to sit on the racetrack instead of at the racetrack. And you jump into a go-kart. How did that all get started for you?
There was a go-kart track in Windsor owned by the Mackenzies called Fog. And my well, that's actually in Grand Bend, and that's Tyler Hendricks down there. But that's later on. But there's a go-kart track in Fog, and my cousin Shelby and my stepbrother Brett were driving there, and we went down there. I think it was every Monday nights they raced, and I just told my dad I want to try driving, and that was my first go-kart actually, and that body was the Sean Smith Memorial Night, and I won with that, and Willie Vise, who drives the number 2 modified, he drove that red kart, and then Tyler drove it the next week at Grand Bend.
Okay. Rob, do you have any questions about that?
Well, and that my mic might cut out a little bit, so I hope you can hear what I'm going to say. But I remember your dad told me one time, Jake, that you were racing a go-kart down, and you and your mom and dad were down there, and you were a pretty aggressive little go-kart racer. Either you were making a pass for the lead, but you ended up in the grandstands, and your dad told me that it was an extremely quiet ride from that track. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I can remember that one. Yeah.
Were you so your first year in go-karts
was that the end of your go-karting?
No, my last go-kart race was at Eldora, and then we got into the street stock division.
Okay, so going back to go-karts here, we apologize, fans. We're having some technical difficulties, but we'll get through it. We apologize. So going back to your go-karts here and your opening, your first time in a go-kart, how was that for you? What was the experience like jumping in there and getting used to figuring out how to drive around the track and everything like that? Talk about that a little bit.
My first time in a go-kart, we rented Fog, which isn't there anymore, but it was me, my stepbrother, and my sister, and the only thing I did for probably, well, I don't know, we were there all day, is just run laps and sets of tires and just keep running laps. And there would be pylons set up for with lift points and to pick up and when to start rotating. And then I got to go when there's 3 carts, so then I knew, like with traffic, when you come up on a slower cart or when someone's beside you. So actually my first race was I felt a lot more confident than most of the younger kids or the kids I was racing against because of that day.
Okay. And then you carry on with the go-karts. You must have enjoyed it. And you said that picture there on the very bottom, that feature one, that was a little bit later on. That wasn't when you first started out, was it?
No, I think that was probably my second year go-karts. Yeah.
Okay. But, and did you race at 5150 also?
Yeah, I've raced at 5150. I did a lot of travel go-kart career, so I didn't get to go locally to 5150 all the time, but when we had off time or when we weren't with the series, then we went to 5150.
Okay. And how long did you race go-karts for? I know we have another slide up here, another picture of you in the go-kart, but how long did you race go-karts for?
I think I started when I was 7 till I was 14. So.
And did you win lots of races, lots of championships?
We were pretty successful in my go-karting career, yes.
Okay. And you said you did lots of traveling. What tracks did you go to? Like, did you go to Eldora? Well, they didn't really have it that all that long, I guess. But did you go to Eldora at all, or go to the big one in Indiana. I forget what it's called right now, but did you go to all those races?
Yeah, I've won at Little Eldora. I've won in Central Kentucky, the Frosted Wheels. We went to Indiana, all over Ohio, BMI, which isn't there anymore. A lot of indoor races. Michigan, Bryant Speedway, Cridersville. Yeah, we've Owasso. I held the track record at Arthur Go-Kart Speedway there for the longest time. Yeah, we did quite a bit of traveling.
Okay, and I think we have another picture here of you racing the go-karts. But what do you think about Cridersville there? But what do you think about go-kart racing versus stock car racing? I guess do you see a difference? Is there one you like more than the other? I mean, obviously it's a completely different thing, but are you into both of the things, or what? Because I saw you at Route 1 there the other day because we had a rain out at SOMS. But so you're still into go-karting a little bit. Talk about that a little bit. When you're not in the stock car, you're going into the go-karts and the differences and the things that you enjoy about the go-karting.
Yeah, I still have a go-kart. I actually drive for Chase Smith. He's been a great go-kart owner for a while now. I love my go-kart racing. It's very technical racing. It's fast. You're not moving the wheel, and it's a lot of tires, and it's a lot of prep towards it. But I like to take my go-karting program towards my late model program. I like to keep those both similar, where my team and we're very down to the point with everything. Everything has to be right, and if it's not, we're going to take it apart and do it again. And if our tires are out 1/8 of an inch, we're probably going to dismount it and let it sit for a while and try and stretch it out. That's how go-karting is. And that's where I find where most of my aggression comes from, is from go-karting, because you've got to be up on the wheel, and you don't have a lot of time, because when you're running 4-second laps, a heat race goes pretty fast.
Yeah, yep, it definitely does. I guess we got Rob back there. Rob, are you there? Do you have any questions about the go-karting?
Yeah, as long as you can hear me okay. Yeah, I've been around. He's been racing go-karts, and again, he's extremely talented. I can't express this enough, how much that does transfer over into full-size stock cars. A lot of really good go-kart racers, really good stock car drivers. That's evident in Jake's performance. I was really impressed with him when I first saw him race a go-kart. So I'll turn it back over to you, Craig.
All right, so we go from go-karts to a stock car. You jump into a street stock. Talk about that a little bit, jumping into a street stock and what that experience was like, because that's a whole other ballgame for sure.
Yeah, that was a pretty big swing for us. Well, for me, not for my dad and stuff. They knew, but again, we rented the racetrack. I went out with I think Dennis Smith. He had, I don't know, this black Chevy S10, and it was a manual. So probably for the first hour and a half I was there, I was spinning laps in that truck with my dad beside me, doing the same thing that we did in the go-karts, pick up points, time to lift, just learning to be on a bigger racetrack than I was quite used to. But that car was Rudy Vanderwinkle has it now, but that day of practice helped a lot. And actually, Sherry and Gary, they were running the racetrack at the time. They let me have a two-way radio. So just because I was so young, it would just be with my dad, and he would tell me what the race director Scott Burke was saying. But just it kept me a lot calmer with my dad in my ear. So just making sure that the car is in high, and just when the leaders were coming, to stay out of the way.
Okay. And did you get a feature win in your first year? I see the picture there with the checker flag. Was that in your first season, your rookie season, that you got a feature win?
And my first heat race win was actually with Eric Vanderveer. He told me that I had to start up front that night, and he promised me a heat race win. So not saying he was blocking, but I always appreciate that for Eric.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
My first feature win was the shootout.
Oh, wow. That's a good one to win, eh?
Yeah, that I think I'm the youngest, but yeah, that was definitely that was a pretty good way to end a year.
Yeah, for sure. Rob, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I can tell you that the exact number of times I finished second to Jake while he was in the sports stock division was 9. Yeah, he won, and I finished second. And I was again really impressed with him. His dad did a really good job on sort of giving him all the right tips. I remember one night in particular, and I think it was Jake's second year. Don't remember what year it was, but so I'm chasing Jake, and I'm running as hard as I can. I'm running second, and Jake wins a feature, and when we rolled across the scales, I looked over at Diane, Jake's mom, and she mouthed the words "thank you" to me, and I'm thinking, okay, she's thanking me for not spinning him out or roughing him up, and after we had scaled and we were checking the cars, I went over to her and I said, "You were thanking me for not spinning Jake out, but I couldn't catch him. I was running as hard as I could, and I could not catch him." So yeah, he was a hard kid to catch, and he still is. So I mean, it's because of Jake I had to stop racing stock cars. I just gave up. He's just too tough for me. All right, go ahead there, Craig.
All right, so we're just gonna step away from the racing because I kind of like to know what kind of things do you like to do for fun when you're not at the racetrack or working on the race car? What's Jake Hooker like to do? Do you like to go out and party? What's fun things to do for Jake Hooker to do?
Fun things for me. I go on some walks sometimes. Melody, my fiance, and our dog, we go for walks around here, but it's pretty much all racing all the time. I don't step away from my program too often. I was always taught races were won in the shop, so every spare minute I have, usually I neglect my fiance and my personal life, and I spend it in there.
Oh, well, if you're passionate, right? I mean, that's what's going to get the wins for you for sure. Rob, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I can't think of anything. I've been around Jake quite a bit, but yeah, racing is his main focus. The only thing I can say is that Melody, my daughter, and the love of Jake's life. I remember when Jake came to me, and he was going to propose to Melody. He did the right thing. He made a trip down to Amherstburg and came to talk to my wife Kathy and myself, and he said he told us what his intentions were, and that's the only thing I think he does other than racing is he thinks about her, and they're very they complement each other. I couldn't be prouder to have Jake as a future son-in-law. He's a heck of a, I'm not going to say kid anymore because he's a man, but really I'm really proud of you, Jake, and can't wait to watch all those new experiences you're going to have racing. So I'll turn it back over to you, Craig.
All right. Well, Jake, just carrying on with the family thing. You don't have any kids, obviously, but you do have some animals. We met Bob earlier. Talk about what your pets mean to you, Jake.
I guess you can say I'm an animal lover. I got a bunny named Bob, and then my fiance and I have a teacup Pomeranian, Stella, and she doesn't come to Buxton too often, but when we go out on the road for any big races, like we're going to Oshwegan Friday, she'll definitely be in the toter home with us. It's just my little family, I guess. So even around here, we have my sister's got dogs, our dog Cash, and my parents, they got a little dog. So it becomes a zoo, but they all get along, so that's good.
Definitely. All right, we're gonna go back into the racing. So you said your rookie year, your first feature win was the shootout. So obviously you you figured out the racing pretty quick, and your next seasons. I mean, what do you do after you win a shootout? But you still want to win a bunch of features. So talk about that a little bit as you carry on, winning features, winning races, winning heat races, or whatever. How did the your career progress as you were getting more experience in the car?
Well, the second year of sports stock was a big year for me and for everybody really. I spent most of the winter doing studies, like a lot of video replay. Pete Van Hall, I pretty much bought a video every year, and I just learned a lot of people's lines, and I tried figuring out a faster line. That street stock division was a great division. You know, there was guys that are still racing right now, like Steve Shaw. He's the king of Thunderstocks. Rob Young, he was another great guy to follow. Eric and Aaron Vanderveer, Steve Clements, like those guys are all. Well, when I grew up, they were all driving. So like to be with those guys and like they ran you hard, but you got respect out of the deal. So it just came down to a lot of studying and just getting the car right for me. You know, we had like my dad. We talked all winter and we worked on it, and it happened.
Awesome. Rob, do you have any questions about that?
Well, I can guarantee you that what Jake is saying is absolutely right. I have a lot of the videos that Pete sold, and lots of times when Jake comes to visit, we watch those videos. Even now, we about wore them out, is what it is. But yeah, when Ryan Bonner is here as well, we spend a lot of time watching those old videos from that particular time back in 2000, I'd say 14, 15, something like that. But it's a lot of fun to do that. And these guys see things in there that I didn't even know happened. But oh yeah, they do. And obviously we check out some of the wrecks and stuff. And yeah, it's really cool having Jake around and yet he's right. You learn a lot from watching those videos. So I'll turn it back over to you, Craig.
All right, so you pretty well got the dirt racing figured out. Have you ever attempted asphalt racing?
Yeah, I have. I got to run Kenny Spire's mini stock. It was the 86 at Frostfest, and I got sixth in that thing. And then Mike McCall gave me a chance to drive their house car in Delaware on my 16th birthday, I think it was. And Perfota's garage, Bill and Yvonne helped out with a set of tires and some for other trailers. My father and mother-in-law helped out with getting the car there. So I got second at the end of that, or third or something. But right now in the works is another McCall car. To go down to Speed Weeks in February to run.
Oh, that would be awesome. And what because obviously asphalt racing is completely different. What was that experience like when you did you have to do some testing before you went and actually ran a race, or what was that like for you?
Yeah, every time that I get into a race car, I always like to go and test. I don't like going all feet into the cold water. And, you know, it was a great deal. I got to talk to Junior Hanley before I got to run the Pro Late, and Russ Erlin took me around Delaware with the Kubota. And my dad was obviously there, so we got to spin a couple laps. And Mike and Jordan Lawrence was there, so I don't know if you guys know APC racing, but he's a very smart, knowledgeable man, and so was Paul. So they both came testing and racing with us. So we had a good crew, definitely. And yeah, it's different racing. It's a lot closer to go-kart racing. Every pass counts, and when you got a hit, you got to go fast. So yeah.
Rob, do you have any questions about that?
Well, I was a part of that, and I remember Mike McCall whenever he has a new driver at Delaware for testing, he sets up cones going into turn one and turn three to show the drivers, the line around there, and that education is invaluable. Just really all of the training and experience that Jake is gaining. I can't wait to see him at New Smyrna in Florida. I know he's going to do well. Hopefully, not as well as his dad did. His dad ended up on his lid there one time, but hopefully that doesn't happen to Jake. But I'm sure he's going to do a great job.
Yeah, I would imagine that anything that Jake Hooker jumps into is probably going to be going fast. And speaking of going fast, at some point you decide, well, you've had enough of going fast. You want to go faster, and you jump into a dirt late model. Talk about going into a dirt late model a little bit.
Yeah, we won the points thing at Buxton there, and actually that's my second late model, but my first late model was my dad's, and he never sold it. It stood in cart storage the whole time, so it only made sense to move up, and the closest thing to one of those street stocks was a late model. Just from body style and sort of how they drive. But yeah, we Andrew Ohm and my dad, those guys drove that car, so we knew it was a good winning car, and it was just kind of was the right move. It was time to move up, and it was a different change.
So you took your dad's number and you used it in the go-karting, and you pretty well kept it all the way through. Was there any reason behind that decision? Anything that you didn't want to use a different number? You wanted to use your dad's number? Any reason behind that decision?
Well, I can tell you the reason of the 38. Eugene Hoekstra, Digger Right, has had two cars, and my dad was helping Eugene, and the 36, he had two 36s. My dad wanted to drive, so Eugene made the 6 and 2 and 8, and that number has pretty much stayed with our family the whole time. It just made sense.
Absolutely. Rob, do you have any questions about that?
Yeah, that's we all know Kirk made that number famous, and it just goes without saying that that's the number that Jake should carry on with. But yeah, he when he jumped up from the Thunderstock into that late model, and he picked it up pretty good quick too. In fact, I don't know, Jake. You'll have to let us know. Did you win a feature in your first year, or was it the second year in a late model that you won your feature?
I don't think it was my first year. It was the first year we had the XR1 was my first feature win in the late models.
Yep. Go ahead, Craig.
Okay, so you get your first feature win, but what was that experience like, though? I mean, jumping into a late model, that's a whole lot of power compared to the street stock or whatever. What was that like the first time you opened that thing up and started flying around the track? Would you talk about that a little bit?
The sports stocks and the late models, they're obviously two different cars, but the motor took a while for me to get used to, especially with the street stock. You really didn't have wheel spin, or now when you have 900 horse, you obviously have wheel spin. So that took me a while to get used to, and especially the balance of these race cars nowadays compared to what I was used to. Cars are very hard on the right front with the left rear moving a lot, and just the balance of the cars. So it took me a while. There was definitely a lot of spin outs my first year, but still almost quite a bit of spin outs right now. But it definitely, I was always taught, if you're comfortable in the race car, you're not going fast enough. So for the first little bit, I was shaking in my boots, but after you sit in it for a couple features and stuff, you kind of get somewhat more used to the speeds.
Rob, do you have any questions about that?
Yeah, and that's right. That Jake talks about being comfortable in the race car, and once you're comfortable, then you can start pushing those limits. But we almost expect every time Jake's in a race, whether it's a heat race or a feature, he's going to go to the front, and that's the kind of driver he is. The support that he talks about with his dad and Andrew Riem, Brad Authier, also Ed Carley helps him out a lot. It's really important to have to know what the car is supposed to feel like, and when you have that kind of experience and people helping you out, it makes a really good driver like Jake a great driver, and that's what I see. I see him at his age right now. In a couple of years, I can't wait to see him running at Eldora. Oh, actually, I already saw him running at Eldora. So, but up there mixing it up with some of the the Sunoco late model guys and whatnot. So, looking forward. Yeah, there's a picture of him at Eldora. Take it over there, Craig.
Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of ask you the same question I just asked you. So you go from South Buxton to Eldora, which is a half mile, and and you open it up there. What was that like when you're full scream all the way around that place up against the wall or whatever?
That's completely a totally different monster in itself. Especially just being a kid from go-kart racing. But like Rob said, we have a great support with the car and stuff. And growing up, I got to hear and watch my dad and everyone race, so I kind of had an idea of picking up points for the throttle and where to drive in at. But Eldora, I want to go back. We were hoping to do the million this year, but unfortunately, with some things just didn't line up, and that's just the short of that. But I tell you, Eldora was definitely a crazy experience. Whatever anybody says about it, it's true. When you're pulling out onto the racetrack, you're basically tilted sideways, and I don't know. I still get a smile over it all the time. That was definitely a race that will stay with me for a long time. It's an amazing facility and even amazing racetrack.
I can just about imagine. You're giving me goosebumps here just thinking about it because you're only 21 years old, but I can imagine that experience was pretty wild. But so anyways, we're going to stay close to home here. We got a pretty cool picture here, which I think is pretty cool. We got you with the arm out the window, obviously coming to a win. But talk about, I don't really know what that win would have been, but talk about that a little bit. You come to the checkered flag, you got the arm hanging out the window.
That's just something my dad always did. That car was my personal car, and I still have it right now. That came right from Rocket when we went down there. Future wins in the late model in every division are hard to come by, and especially with the field that we have now. Like I can tell you right now, in the Thunderstocks, the Shaws, and they got their stuff together. And even in the late model division, Brian Spielman, CJ Fields, Greg Haskell, Mike Lewis, like you're running against guys that I grew up watching. So when you get to kind of overcome and beat them, it's sometimes the emotions get the best of you. So I guess that's what happened there.
Rob, do you have any questions about that?
Yeah, I was there that night, and it was a great win for Jake. And back to I wanted to mention that picture of Eldora. It reminded me of how many places I've watched Jake win at, Oakshade, and how well he's run at Attica, and places over in the States that maybe a lot of people don't realize how good Jake is at all these different tracks. They've seen him, they see him at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway and how good he's there, but he's good everywhere he goes. And even here in Canada, Humberstone, Merrittville, Brighton, he's good everywhere. But back to this Eldora thing. Before I forget, Jake, who do you think? Who you got a pick for the million this weekend at Eldora by any chance?
There's only 3 people that I'll cheer for that aren't my father or Brad Othier, and that is Tyler Erb, Scott Bloomquist, and I got to go for Andrew Riom. Those guys are definitely my top 3 picks. I think they are the guys that are going to seal it up. You guys?
Well, I got to say that that Tyler Erber or Turbo, he's good, but Andrew runs good there. Yep. I'm gonna stick with my old buddy. Yeah, I was gonna say Scott Bloomquist, but no, Jimmy Owens. I'm gonna take the number 20, Jimmy Owens, and he's gonna win there. So that's my pick. What about you, Craig?
I think that's a good pick, and I was actually going to pick Jimmy Owens, but since you picked him, Rob, I'm going to pick the hometown hero and say Andrew Riom.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Carry on. I didn't want to get you off the agenda, but I didn't want to forget to ask Jake that.
No, that's okay. That's okay. But so I like you said, Jake, you do a lot. You do a lot of traveling. How long when you roll into a different racetrack or a racetrack for the first time? How long does it usually take you to get ready or you think you're prepared to race the track? How long does it take you to get ready for a track?
I always like going to the different tracks because it keeps you as a driver on your toes. I do a lot of video or I do watch quite a bit before I go. But usually after hot laps, you got a good feel for the track. You'll be able to tell who your front runners are and who the guys you want to follow. And it all depends on your pole draw, really. If you're starting near the back, you're definitely going to have to be more aggressive because where we're fortunate, where Buxton, they got 20 cars and they always start it, where when you go down to Oakshade and Attica, they get 40, 45 cars. And if you don't make it to the front, you're going to the B. And if you can't make it through the B, then you're going home and you get no tow money. So that's the way I was brought up. Definitely got to make it. And that's how you get to go to the next racetrack. If you don't get no money to come home, then it's a tough ride home.
2021 at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway, Jake. I guess you had some shared driving duties, but still managed to pull off a feature win. Talk about your 2021 season a little bit at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway. Jumping into Brad Authier's car and all that good stuff. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, we built a brand new motor for 2021 because our goal was gearing up for Eldora, and we brought it out to the practice night and we blew it up. No getting around it, or I blew it up. But we were kind of done. We were just gonna have to sit the rest of the season out. There was no getting around it, and then I don't know, something happened with Rob or maybe my fiance had some push on it, but I got to take the car to Humberstone, and I think we did somewhat well with it. It was my first time in the car, and then we took it to Buxton the next week, I think, or something like that, and then Melody and I bought the motor from Rob, and I think Ryan and Angela bought the car from Rob. So then we started gearing up. That was near the end of the season there. And then Andrew's driving for Brad still. And then Andrew kind of wanted to become more of a father figure with his young one, Colton. So I guess Brad Othier, the next in line was me. And I was not expecting that for sure. The drive for Brad's definitely steep shoes, especially for the drivers that he's had in his cars. So very fortunate for that, especially like having my dad and Ed Carley and Brad. They're all in my back corner. Like the amount of laps put together with all those guys is huge.
Rob, do you have any questions about that?
He is, and that's a really good thing for Jake and for everybody. Brad, like myself, has some breathing issues, and it makes a lot of sense to put Jake in that race car. And I even remember the ride home back when Jake was referring to. He ended up with the SB2 out of the 48, and Ryan ended up with the chassis. But I remember the ride home. It's Jake's mother-in-law, my wife Kathy, who was instrumental in that. Uh, I said, I just couldn't stand seeing Jake so dejected. We had big high hopes, and she says, well, why don't you? First of all, it was let him drive. He took it to Humberstone, and yeah, he's obvious he's a heck of a lot better driver than I am, and he did well with it. And so again, that made perfect sense. And she convinced me to let him have the motor, and Ryan have the chassis, and then that got him going again in 21, and then it was into Brad's car. So, but it was actually a perfect way for me to get out of the race car. I'm too old to do it anyway. But yeah, Jake was a good excuse for me not to have to do that. So thanks, I appreciate that, Jake.
I appreciate. I wouldn't say you're too old to drive, but I appreciate what you've done for me, Rob.
Well, yeah, you deserve it. You deserve every bit of it. So, yeah, I'll turn it back over to you, Craig.
All right, so 2021 shootout at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway wasn't actually, well, I mean, it was the shootout, but it was actually the Brett Riom Memorial. I would talk about that a little bit. Putting enough 77 on the car. Talk about that a little bit, G.
Well, the Riom family and the Hooker family have always been really tight. It was still very tough, not having Brett there. He helped my racing career out huge, and I know he helped my dad's out and Brad's, but that was the least that we could do, really. Yeah, that was just the least we could do. Just one of those things that it was an honor to have the 77 on my car, and it's an honor really to still have that body hanging up. So we were running good, and then had to go to the tail and then work our way back up. But just one of the racing icons that I never thought that would move on. So yeah.
Rob, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'm sure Jake was the perfect person to be in that race car, and it was a great tribute to Brett Riom, and the grandstands were full. The track was beautiful. It was just a great night of racing, and for the fans and the drivers and everybody. There's not too many of us that won't forget that night. So, but anyway, I'll turn it back over to you, Craig.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was a great way to cap off a great season that we had last year. 2022, you come out opening night and you decide you're going to park it in Victory Lane. But before we got to that, just real quickly, you actually opened up your season at Merrittville in a modified. Was that your first time in a modified?
Yeah, that was my first time in a modified and my first time ever seeing Merrittville.
All right, you're going to have to fill us in on that, because that is one tight track, and that is a lot of power going around that tight track. Talk about that a little bit.
We built the body for Paul DeGuy, and I seen that race coming up, and he was busy doing flowers and trucking. So I asked him if I could take the car, and I wasn't expecting a yes. Truthfully, I really wasn't expecting an answer, but right away he's like, yes, take the car. So yeah, I didn't get no practice that time. I didn't get no practice last. I didn't get to watch any videos of it, but really, Merrittville's a great facility. Awesome racetrack, 2-lane racing, nice and tight corners, but opens up very well, and just a different type of soil for me to see. So, and a different type of race car for me to see and get knowledge on. So we really just all the cards fell our way that night, and that's hopefully what happens at Oswego.
Well, I asked you earlier how long it takes you to figure out a racetrack when you show up to one for the first time, and you figured out Maryville really quick because you had that thing just rolling around the outside. You did a heck of a job there, and that was a lot of fun to watch. You guys all put on a good show, so congratulations on that. That was really awesome to watch. So, anyways, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say thank you, but really Joel the one that found the top before, and I kind of just tried to follow him, but Hollywood beat me, I guess.
You did a good job, Rob. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, Jake spoke earlier about racing at Ashwegan on Friday night, and how excited he is that Kenny Schrader is going to be there. Kenny was at the track today, doing some testing and whatnot, and so I'm excited to see Jake run on that track with that car and against that field. So I'm sure he's going to do just fine. Go ahead, Craig.
All right, so 2022 opening night at SOMS. You parked the late model into Victory Lane. Talk about that a little bit, because that's got to be pretty special to win on opening night.
Well, back to the Brett Riom deal. I didn't quite know that I was driving for Brad in 22. So at the end of the night there, Brad and Nikki came up to me and Melody and my parents, and they asked me to drive for them. So really, I was really quite surprised, because that's what I wanted, and what I really pushed for. Everybody wants to for somebody in racing, and I'm very fortunate to drive for Brad. So to come up with a win, that was huge. It really, I don't know, got the ball rolling, but we definitely put a lot of time and a lot of effort into the car. It's rewarding. Like I said before, we were particular and passionate on the race car. So just very, very lucky to be where I'm at, and for what the Author family's done for me and my racing.
Excellent. And you also, 2022 season, you're going to be rolling around in the Thunderstock class in the 1A car. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, the Thunderstocks are definitely a different driving race car, that's for sure, compared to the late models. The late models, dynamic cars, and they're very on the right front, like I said. Where these Thunderstocks, they don't have much movement to them. They don't roll over on the right front. They're very stiff cars. So definitely something to learn on, but it keeps me on the racetrack, and it keeps me grabbing the wheel. So that's why I try to drive everything that I can, because the more times you grab the wheel, the better racer you'll be. So
4 races in a night, I would imagine you're spent at the end of the night. Are you wore out and you just want to go to bed?
No, not too much. The power steering and stuff, they take away quite a bit, but maybe sometime this year I'll be the first driver to drive three classes.
Oh, are you hinting at something you want to fill us in on?
We'll just see what happens at Ashwegan.
All right. There we go. That's a good enough hint. Rob, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, he's that would be quite a feat. He'll be jumping from one car to another, but I'm thinking that he's now, Jake is our point leader, although we only have 2 weeks in, and I'm sure he's thinking that even though it is only 2 weeks, Jake, you're going to be quite a contender for the championship this year. You think that you got a really good shot at that?
Truthfully, I don't pay attention too much to points. My job is to win features, and that's all that I want to do. And been taught that the points will follow that. So, do I think we have a good contention? Absolutely. We definitely have the program, the knowledge, and the cars. So we definitely just need the driver to strap up and win some more features.
So, and you're going to get Kyle Ross as your is Kyle your crew chief, and he's your stick man So you're gonna keep him doing that for the rest of the season?
Kyle definitely does a lot for me, my parents, and Brad. He's definitely become one of my second brothers. He don't get to run the sticks too much anymore, but he definitely takes control of the shock program, and he does very well at that. And really fortunate to have him on the team because he pretty much anytime I'm working on a race car, he's right beside me. So he married himself to the team, and he's truthfully doing really great. It's gonna suck this week. He's at Eldora doing some R&D testing for us.
Well, he's a good kid. He comes from a farming family, and those are always good people to have. They're very mechanical. They pick up stuff in a hurry. And he's very dedicated to your program. I'm pretty impressed with that kid. So, yeah, both you guys at the age that you are, you're going to go a long way. You remind me of Mark Martin, and I'm trying to think of Mark had a kid that he worked with. Joey Knuckles comes to mind. I don't know if that's who it was, but they were both the same age. They came up through ASA together, and they fed off each other. And I think you and Kyle have that same dynamic. He kind of starting to know what you're thinking, and when as soon as you come in, he knows that maybe you want to have pull the right rear or the left rear or whatever. He's pretty smart. He's picking it up pretty quick.
Yeah, he really is. He's doing everything right, and we do bounce quite a bit of ideas off each other, and really it pays off on the racetrack. We both set goals this year, and with Brad and my parents, so we're definitely going for it.
Well, you're again. I don't want anybody to think I'm picking or I'm showing any favoritism, Jake. But I am really impressed with you as a driver and as a young man, and again, glad to have you in the family. So you've given me an excuse to go to the racetrack and cheer somebody on. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Rob. You've done lots for me, and I can't say enough for what everyone's done.
All right, Craig, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Well, as you guys were talking about, Rob Young is going to be your soon-to-be father-in-law. But before he became, or you asked him to be your father-in-law, I think you grew up a Rob Young fan. Did you not?
Yeah. I definitely grew up watching Rob Young, and I definitely cheered for the 23.
Yeah, I'll say this, that Kathy and I, we didn't know that Melody and Jake were dating, if you can call it that, because they were both very young at the racetrack. And I remember Jake would come riding by in his four-wheeler, and he'd kind of go by slow, and Melody be looking over, and we didn't pick up on any of that. I think they were probably boyfriend and girlfriend for like a whole season before Kathy and I knew anything about it. Well, I shouldn't say it. She probably knew a long time before I did, but yeah, it was pretty cool watching these two kids together. But yeah, I've watched both of you grow up, and I know that you're both made for each other. So it's just a lot of fun watching you guys.
Thank you,
Rob. Do you want to talk about this? Go ahead, Jake. Sorry.
Well, Rob and I were pretty fierce competitors for the last little bit. So yeah, we had to keep it under wraps.
Yeah, I remember if you look at that picture that they're showing there, you just look at Jake. He's just a little kid, but he was when he says fierce competitor. I chased him a lot more than he chased me. So even at that age, that kid was teaching me stuff. So yeah, it's just it's been a really good journey. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Well, Jake, it takes a whole lot to get to the track. Takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of help. Do you have some people and some sponsors that you would like to thank?
Oh, I got a list. How much time do you guys have?
Yeah.
Nikki's Tupperware, Brad Othtier and Brad's Delivery. Those guys, they've truthfully pretty much gave me the world right now, and I'm very grateful for them. Border City Freight and DeGui's Flowers. Paul DeGuy stepped up huge this year with letting me take his modified in coming on the super late model team. So he just can't say enough for him. Perfota's Garage. Bill and Yvonne, they first started off as a sponsorship, but now they're pretty much now they are family. So really can't thank enough for the Perfota's family. Vertec, Steve, he's done so much he's always sponsored me my whole racing career since I've started. Robertson Motorcycles, just can't say enough for them. They're a longtime supporter of Brad Othtier. Westside Performance Plus, Mike. There isn't anything that I can't say. They're the guys that have your parts Saturday, and they help us out huge, especially with my team and everything. Pancor Market, they came on this year, and I can't say enough for them. If you guys need the best subs in town, go to Pancor's. OG's Pizza. I got stomach problems, and they make the best pizza with no tomato sauce. Ed Carley and Genesis Shocks, they made our program so much more competitive to where we can travel around, and even our car maneuverable. Ross Farms, Kyle and his family, they've done so much for me. Just let me put the work on him. So DSW Property Maintenance, Matt Wathier, he's always been supporting me since I began, pretty much, and he's a great help. RPM Designs, Dean, he makes the best wraps anytime that I call. He's right away. And Dennis Thibodeau with AP Racing Engines. I said it in my first interview, and I'll say it in my last. We call him Albert Einstein for a reason, and he makes the best motors around. They're reliable and dependable. So, and my for people, I got to thank John DeForest, Johnny Five, Brad Wanacott, Burrito. He helps out huge. My parents, my mom, my dad, everyone that makes this team go up and down on the road. It's everything's. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, my fiance. So just very grateful for everything that makes this car go around.
I think you forgot to mention Bob the Bunny.
Oh yeah, Bob for being a great support.
What about your PR guy, Skin?
Yeah, Skin Riddle. That's my answer to that. He just gets the people going. So, I forgot Wilco Signs and Roofing. Chuck Wilkins. He helped out this year.
All right, Jake. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I don't have any other questions for you. Rob, do you have any other questions for Jake?
I apologize for the technical difficulties earlier. I'm sure I missed some of the stuff there, and we don't. There's a lot. I'm sure there's a lot more stuff we could talk about, but maybe we'll save that for another interview. But we've had a lot of fun with you, Jake, and I could say personally, you've made racing at the Southern Ontario Motor Speedway, for me anyway, a heck of a lot of fun. So I enjoy watching you, whether it's at SOMS or at any of the other tracks. So just keep up the good work.
Thanks, Rob. But can I say one thing before I leave? Sure. First nickname I ever got from Rob Young was the Mosquito. Oh
yeah, I named him the Mosquito because he was like a pesky mosquito. He was always buzzing around, and if you got by him, he'd just get right back by you again. And he was very, very hard to beat. So. He was one of the guys I really used to worry about when I was kind of on top of the game back in 15 or whenever it was. He would be one guy, look around the pits and say, gee, that pesky little mosquito, he's starting ahead of me, or he's right beside me or right behind me. But that was his nickname.
Dogs. They were doing so good.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's all right.
they're starting to shut her down.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll let you take care of that, Jake. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been a lot of fun. And good luck the rest of the 2022 season. I hope you park it in Victory Lane in both the late model and the Thunderstock. And thanks a lot for jumping on here with us tonight.
Thanks again, guys. So I barely heard the last part, but thanks for having me on, and hopefully we get to do something like this again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we will.
You're
Jake.
welcome here anytime, Jake.
Yep. All right. Take care.
Thank
See
you.
you, Jake. Thank you. Take
See you
care. Good
guys.
luck. All right, there we go. We know a lot more about Jake Hooker. I didn't realize he was 21, and what a nice young man. So kudos to his parents and his parents-in-laws. Obviously, I would imagine have some. But wow, what a nice young guy. That was great to talk to him.
Yeah, he's got some really good parents, Kirk and Diane. And I want to tell you what I remember back when I was racing Jake, and if there was an altercation between Jake and I, for one reason or another, I was never afraid of Jake. I was afraid of Diane and Taylor, his sister and his mom, because they are very defense, like they defend that kid, and so they should. But yeah, they were the ones I was worried about. Yeah, but yeah, the story that I told you about that Diane said was thanking me for not spinning them out or roughing them up some. And I after that race was over, I said, "Man, I couldn't catch him. I was doing everything I could, and I couldn't catch him." And there was one time it was a championship race, I believe, and we had a bunch of cautions, and he was leading, and at that time we used to start first and second would start side by side coming to the green, and I tried everything that I could to get around him. I tried to jump the start. I tried in fact I remember being on a hammer right in turn 3 to try and get around him, and I couldn't do it. He just seemed to know everything, every move. He knew it, and he's just a good little racer. I enjoyed racing him every lap.
Absolutely. Well, fans, if you would like to watch this interview or see what's going on at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway, make sure you jump on Facebook and check out Southern Ontario Motor Speedway Fan Zone. We have all kinds of contests, giveaways, information, and everything else going on there. If you want to watch our SOMSpotlight interviews, like we just have with Jake Hooker and all the other drivers that we've had, check out our YouTube channel. That's SOMSpotlight. Rob, do you know that this is our 22nd interview that we've done so far?
Yeah, but Craig, did you know there's 100 drivers?
That's okay. I'll interview them all. These are a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing these interviews.
Yeah, I know we've had a couple of technical difficulties the last couple of weeks, but we're gonna get it all going in the right direction, and we'll just make this show better every week if we can. And yeah, it's just nice to learn more about these drivers and what they do when they're not, when they're not racing and whatnot. So that's about all I've got to say tonight.
All right, next week we're going to be joined by Josh Indig, so make sure you come check us out Monday night on 7 o'clock. SOMSpotlight presented by Sun Parlor Trailers. This weekend, this Friday and Saturday at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway. First, of course, we're going to have our mini stocks racing on Friday night. Our mini stocks are also going to join our other 4 classes on Saturday night. Every feature winner will get $150 extra dollars. That was a lot to spit out apparently, but $150 extra dollars to each feature winner. Fans, make sure you're checking that out. We'll be posting all the details on that in the coming days. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. This has been SOMSpotlight presented by Sun Parlor Trailers. That's Rob Young. My name is Craig Smolders. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Goodbye.
Good night, everybody.